So today we're going to be doing some broadhead testing on some ballistic gel blocks, just to kind of see how the broadheads are performing between the Flint Arrowhead, this single bevel from Magnus, and a iron will wide series. The iron will is what I'm shooting on my regular compound bow. These single bevels are what I'm kind of planning on using for this longbow. My gut tells me that the Flint arrowheads are just not going to have, because they lack that cutting power, they're just not going to have that extra oomph, considering this is only a 47-pound draw bow. I think when we bump up to 60-pound draw longbow, we'll be able to use the Flint arrowheads, but I'm just not super confident in their performance right now. But without any further ado, we're going to get started. We're going to start with this single bevel Magnus 150 grain broadhead, and then we'll go to the Flint arrowhead, and then we'll go to the wide series iron will. So as you can see here, broadhead hit pretty decently at the top twice, and it went, I don't know what you call it, 3-4 inches in to the ballistic gel. Now we'll be shooting our Flint arrowhead. These are really beautiful, well-made, handmade, river cane reed shaft, feather fletching, handmade flint head with sinew binding. These things are just awesome, and I'm very hesitant to shoot it because I don't want to lose it and I don't want to damage it. But we gotta test these things, so we're gonna find out. Hit a little bit more solid mass. It was about similar penetration for the Flint broadhead, actually. That's kind of interesting. The wound channel seems basically mirror about the width of the broadhead itself. It's pretty cool. Obviously still have a lot of river cane shafts still sticking out. All right, and now lastly, we have our wide series iron wills. These are only 125 grain, meant for my compound. We're gonna see how these perform and stack up against the other two. Okay, so we've hit pretty high again, only making about half contact. If you look at it compared to the previous pathway of the single bevel, it was pretty much comparable. I think the single bevel went a little bit deeper, but you also have those two bleeder blades. It's considerably wider. So now, just for a little bit of control, we're going to be shooting a modern 70-pound draw weight compound bow with a iron will wide series broadhead on here. This is my usual archery hunting setup. Just it won't be a 1-to-1. Obviously this has a lot more poundage to it, and we're still shooting at the same distance, but I just wanted to see kind of as a control of what the different type of performance is going to be. So without any further ado, let's get that on downrange so we can see that as well. Woo! Beautiful. Okay, so by comparison, let me get to this set so it's a little bit more obvious. So right here we have the S series, or I'm sorry, the wide series from iron will out of the longbow, and it got probably 3 inches of penetration. Here we've got more like 8 out of it. much more effective, a lot more penetration with the same broadhead. Really quite impressive. And you know, this is not really comparing apples to apples. You're comparing oranges to apples, because that compound has a lot more power, and we're still shooting at the same distance. But that being said, you know, obvious differences. Oh my goodness, it's hot. All right, so I think conclusion wise, hopefully that ended up being a short video. I think in conclusion, with new broadheads and everything being pretty fair, you know, obvious conclusion is that the compound bow is better, but that wasn't really what the point of the test was. We know that, you know, a compound bow with better sights that are going to make it more accurate and a higher poundage is going to shoot better and perform better on ballistic gel than, you know, my 47-pound draw stick bow. But when it comes to the stick bow, I found that overall the highest penetrating one by a very tight margin would end up being the single bevel Magnus. Now, what I like about the iron wills, although they were actually the shortest penetrating one, was that they have those bleeder blades that kind of cut open a much wider wound path. And then the Flint Arrowheads actually performed shockingly well. Like, and I say that having kind of almost written them off at this point and being like, oh, I'm going to have to go way up in poundage, and I'm still going to be dealing with the same penetration issues that I am, you know, with modern broadheads here with, you know, this longbow. They performed almost exactly as the single bevels did, and therefore, to me, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself that they might be slightly off, but they are absolutely heavier. They're like the heaviest arrow in the whole setup, because, you know, those big Flint arrowheads, you know, by themselves are just heavy, and then you have your carbon, you have your carbon arrow shaft versus your reed cane arrow shaft. It's a heavier setup. So the penetration was shockingly good. So in conclusion, I think I'm still going to rock the single bevel just because it had the highest penetration. They're very sharp and they cut well, and they have a wide diameter, so big wound channel this year. But I think next year when we jump up to a 60-pound draw longbow, I think those Flint Arrowheads are going to absolutely get the job done, and I cannot wait until we get there. But we gotta get this bow accomplished first. Retire this bow on a nice deer somewhere, and then move on to the next step. But thank you guys for watching. Please tune in for more, and I'll see you guys next time.